Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 117 of the Still City Insider podcast. And back with us for a second time, his second lap around the track, as he eloquently put it before we came on here, Brian Batko of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Brian, welcome. Jim, how you doing?
I'm good. I love when Brian's here because I know he's on the podcast. I don't have to watch practice because I always told you.
And you always enjoy that we have some, what do we call them? Mild disagreements. So we always have some good banter, some back and forth that carries over from here to the sideline in Latrobe while we're watching the guys get after it.
Gentle disagreements, gentle pushbacks. I think that's how you put it last time. No, I mean, because Brian, I always say the only person that pays attention as much as I do is Brian Batko. I even mentioned you in a column the other day because I was writing about Beanie Bishop. And I said,
I'll have to find that one for sure.
You told me, I think it's behind the paywall, but you told me that, hey, Beanie actually took over the starting slot job at the end of spring. And I wasn't aware of that. And I trust you. And I gave you a favorable comment and moved on. And now here you are on your second podcast, looking to top Dick LeBeau's number again.
Well,
here I am from the parking lot of St. Vincent.
All right. Wow. That's authenticity right there. Let's jump right into it, gentlemen. This was the first day of padded practice. Lots to talk about, but let's begin with Russell Wilson coming back from an injury that was apparently caused by a sled, an exercise on a sled. But talk about Wilson and what his participation was today.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 7-on-7, and I preface some of Justin Fields' best throws by saying that too. So I'm not trying to be biased for or against either quarterback who's getting first team reps right now in Latrobe. But obviously I wanted to see Russ get some opportunities to throw against a live defense that's trying to cover and plaster receivers a little bit. And I think there was only one deep ball he uncorked to Connor Hayward, who got behind the secondary. Yes, Connor Hayward got behind the Steelers defense, and anything can happen in 7-on-7 when there's no pass rush. But other than that, I mean, Russ he kept it pretty simple, some easier, shorter, quicker throws, but I don't think the ball touched the ground. And that's kind of what you expect to see from a veteran, potential future Hall of Fame quarterback in that kind of setting where, again, nobody's in his face, nobody's coming after him, but he's still trying to thread the needle on some balls and put it where it's supposed to go on that particular play call.
Yeah, he didn't show any mobility though. I mean, he stood in the pocket with no pass rush, and that deep ball, it took him a long time to throw that. I don't know if he would have ever got that much time.
Yeah. Long developing play to Connor Hayward.
It was beautiful, and he beat Cam Sutton, didn't he?
I didn't see who was in coverage, Wex, so I'm not watching practice as close as you give me credit for.
Russ was 6 for 6. He completed out. Most of them were short. The bomb was beautiful. And he did appear a couple times in full team scrimmage to hand off, a couple snaps to hand off. But I think more important, how serious is this injury, Brian? And have you gotten any lowdown on why the heck he was pushing a blocking sled?
I mean, my sense of it, just from listening to Russ and, some scuttlebutt here and there, new strength and conditioning staff coming in, trying to raise the bar, trying to hold everybody accountable. Keep in mind, they're coming from college. So, the big dog on the block at Boston College is still a 24 or 25-year-old who has never won a Super Bowl, most likely. So I think there is kind of some discomfort early on with what they were asking guys to do. And, it was a really long time that conditioning test went on. Normally it's just a few runs back and forth, but clearly it was a little more intense this year, and maybe even a little overly so, at least for some of the guys who, Ben Roethlisberger, maybe he kind of got favorable treatment at times, wasn't treated the same as others. But what's the famous Mike Tomlinism? I treat everybody fairly. That doesn't mean I treat everybody equally. So that particular method of getting the team conditioned for camp might be one and done, is my guess.
Yeah, you treat everybody with brains. I mean, you're smart about not making certain guys push the blocking sled.
Yeah, and Russ was pretty diplomatic as he always is talking about it. But I noticed the one little line. It was like, yeah, I think it was the fourth or fifth time we were pushing the sled that my calf gave out. So it's like, was once or twice not enough?
Wow, you can't make that up. Can't make that up. A quarterback pushing a blocking sled. But let's look at the other candidate we have at the quarterback position who had a heck of a day. If you looked at Twitter, you guys had the luxury of being there at camp, but Justin Fields had some nice throws to George Pickens. Was able to see those highlights. But Jim, maybe he read your column where you said that he can't be fixed and was motivated today in the first padded practice.
Yeah, I've had people read my columns and respond that way. That was his best day, I thought. His best day throwing. Do I take back what I said? I mean, when I see a guy struggle with the short passing game like Josh Dobbs, like T. Martin, that stuff doesn't get fixed. You just don't have touch. Today, he looked good. I mean, the first pass he threw to Van Jefferson, it was a deep out. Loved it. Beautiful pass. And his running in 7 shots, love it. I'm now committed to giving him run packages. I believe they should give up on reconstructing him and making his mindset that of a passer and not asking him to do Taysom Hill things because he needs to get his quarterback dignity back. I say forget that. Today's successes understood. I make him a running quarterback and look at him as a 1-year player for this team. I don't, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, one phrase that I keep coming back to with him, and it's probably soft pedaled a little bit more than maybe he can't be fixed, but to me, I'm getting the sense a little bit just from watching him, and it's still a relatively small sample size, but is he just always going to be known as one of those quarterbacks who has everything? He has all the tools, all the physical traits, everything you want, but just doesn't have it. And I mean, we know there's been quarterbacks who lack a lot of those physical traits, but if you have that it factor, you can still win a lot of games and be really successful. So I think that's what they're trying to figure out right now. I did think today, Tuesday, was the best I've seen. And, there's been a lot of ups and downs with Justin. I kind of like the highs a little bit. I'm higher on the highs than I'm low on the lows, if that makes sense. And, you talk about his mobility, Wex. I mean, that first step today, that was impressive. I mean, not just in 7 shots, but there was also one in the team period, 11 on 11, that, it just looks different when you see it up close and personal. And then you see why some of these national analysts are saying, the only guy that maybe is a better quarterback runner than him in the NFL is Lamar Jackson. And if it's just a sprint at this stage of their careers, Fields might be beating him down the field. So that is an interesting wrinkle to consider. And obviously it's a lot more tantalizing if he can make some of those throws. The back right corner of the end zone fade to George Pickens in 7 shots is exactly what you want in that scenario too.
That's the thing. He's been struggling in 7 shots. Today he didn't, and yesterday there was some success too. But he doesn't have that soft touch. He doesn't have. I don't see him reading defenses that well. But also at the 2-yard line, he's a threat to run. He gives you a real threat there. So what do you do? Do you put a quarterback in who's poor at reading defenses and doesn't have a soft touch in at the 2-yard line? Pretty much taking the passing. I don't know. I as a defender, I would play the run if he came in. So it's
I mean, I'm not somebody who I'm not going to pretend to sit here and know quarterback mechanics like his coaches would or anything like that. But I think you do see the inconsistency with just the simple throwing. I mean, sometimes the ball comes out great like it did on the touchdown to Pickens that I was right in front of today. And sometimes it comes out wobbling like a wounded bird. So, I mean, I think that's what you need to try to flatten out, smooth out with Fields. And I mean, that's what Tom Arth and the assistant Matt Baker are trying to do right now, while also obviously you got to consider getting those reps for Russell Wilson once he's back fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it requires patience, and I thought I had patience, but I've already written them off after 3 days. So much for my patience, but the coaches, I'm sure, have their patience. And hey, maybe there was a reason he heaved that pop-up off his back foot that was intercepted by Dante Jackson. It was just an absurd decision. I mean, maybe he was working on new mechanics that we don't know about that can frustrate a kid. Why did he throw the ball 15 yards over Jaylen Warren's head on a swing pass almost injured some fans over there. I mean, man, that kind of stuff. Josh Dobbs, I thought had the it factor. You talk about the it factor, but if you can't throw the short ball, your it factor goes out the window.
Yeah.
So, Tebow couldn't throw a short ball either. I never thought he would be fixed. He did have one good day. Anyway.
Please don't bring up Tebow's name. I just had a flashback to that Denver contest. That's blasphemous here on the Insider, Jim.
Well, I saw Troy Polamalu. He was our first choice. Brian, I'm sorry, you were the second choice today. Troy was the first choice to be on the podcast. He said he's going to talk to me at the end of the week about podcasts.
That's okay. Ike Taylor might be within earshot of us right now.
I said hi to Troy, and Ike turns around and makes a beeline right for us. How you doing, man? So
I'm just saying, you bring up Tebow's name, Ike is probably within a 1,000-foot radius of me at the moment. So let's just be careful.
Oh my. Wow. So let's talk some unfortunate news out of today's padded practice, and that's the injury to Roman Wilson, ankle injury. I know it's early. We don't know the full scope of what's involved with this, but thoughts on what occurred there?
Yeah, Jeremy, sorry, Wex, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was watching it. It happened on the second to last play of 7 shots. They ran like a little jet sweep to him or something. And the vet, Anthony Averett, who's probably seen that run at him many a times in his NFL career, just took the rookie right to the ground. And I didn't notice anything at the time, but yeah, I guess I'm not overly surprised. One thing about Wilson, he's kind of a frailer body type than I realized coming in here. So obviously standing up to the rigors of NFL practices day in and day out is not going to be easy for any rookie, but especially for a guy like him who's on the slighter side.
I had to jump out of practice to get home and get on Route 30 and get into a construction traffic jam. So I didn't get to hear Mike Tomlin. Did he explain the injury?
No, he just said it's an ankle and no further update at this time. So,
yeah.
He was just starting to prove himself a little bit, showed better than he did in the spring. He's getting some slot work. It looked like he had a clear path to being the slot receiver this year. He's a slippery guy, and he's only going to get better as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just couldn't slip past Anthony Averett with the ball on that one. If he did, he might have been able to finish practice. But hopefully it's minor, because I couldn't help but think back to the first day in pads last year. That's when the Steelers lost Corey Trice to that season-ending ACL injury. And going off on a tangent here, with some of the cornerback play they had in the 2023 season, they could have really used them.
That's an excellent segue to Corey Trice. Did you talk to him today?
I did not. No, I was not
did.
in on the Trice scrum. How was he?
Well, today was the milestone, because a year ago on this first padded practice is when he went down, tore his ACL really bad, and he is still being eased in, but he was so excited because now he has passed last year's milestone. He got past that first padded practice without being injured. He was pretty funny. He was a really cool dude, and he doesn't care that he's playing third team. You look at him, when I watch him, the few times I focus on him, I see a guy that belongs at least on second team. He looks like a much better athlete. He looks strong and he looks sturdy. He said he feels 100%. So good things are coming his way, and he doesn't care that they're easing him in on as a third teamer. So that was good to hear.
Yeah, one of the players I wanted to ask you about, guys, who's been receiving a lot of hype, at least, and what I've been seeing, is Payton Wilson. And we know coming into camp that there was a lot of excitement around what he can contribute to this defense. But is the hype warranted from what you've seen so far in camp and in today's padded practice?
Yeah, I think it's always a little bit early to go too overboard with that kind of stuff. But he is somebody who's
Your audio cut out, Brian.
Warren, of course, was a big part of it for sure. So, got me, guys?
Yeah,
we
got
good
you.
now. There you go.
All right. Yeah, like I was saying, Payton Wilson got thrown right into the fire in backs on backers. And you kind of knew that would be a good drill for him because he has that football sicko mentality. I mean, that's what he was known for coming out of NC State. And, how many times has he said he's willing to do whatever to help this team win a Super Bowl? And he just plays with that reckless abandon. And, I was the last 2 reps of Backs on Backers was Wilson against Jaylen Warren, who at one time up here made his name at Steelers training camp for shining in those battles. And the first one, Wilson used his athleticism to kind of just deftly spin off of Warren. And on the second one, as usual, when that happens, especially when a rook gets the better of a veteran, Mike Tomlin wants to run it back. And on that one, Jaylen Warren's punch was so firm and strong that Wilson actually went down to one knee, maybe even both knees. And I'd probably give Warren the win on that rep. So welcome to training camp, rookie.
Well, on that first rep, Jaylen, I mean, I think Payton's blockable. It's not like he's Landon Roberts coming in and, Tomlin had Roberts and Najee.
Yeah.
The 2 reps before he wanted to close with some, because we were getting into the Dejon Edmonds and the backups were and then Tomlin called for Landon and Najee. And Landon's a bull, and Najee is not Jaylen Warren. So when he had Payton Wilson and Najee to finish, he knew he was giving Payton Wilson a handful, like you said. And Jaylen stepped up to really hammer Payton. I think he was a little too cocky. He really wanted to, and Payton, like you said, he used an athletic move and got past him, kind of embarrassed Jaylen. So Jaylen just stood his ground and, he's low to begin with, and he drilled. And Payton's a tall, thin guy, and Jaylen just stuck his helmet right in his sternum. And Jaylen, man, he's something else as a blocker. He really, when he doesn't get cocky and go for the kill shot, I think he's something else to watch.
Low man wins. That's what they say. I will say, I mean, I'll say this. Najee Harris is somebody I've never really noticed much in Backs on Backers his first 3 years. I don't know if it was a case of, hey, I'm a first rounder, I'm on scholarship, I don't really need to do too much in this drill. I thought today was the most active and engaged and vocal I've seen him in trying to take on some of those challenges from guys like Landon Roberts. For some reason, he kept going against down the liner Jeremiah Moon, the outside linebacker, who he's like 6'5", 6'6", arms hang down to his feet. So, I mean, not an easy matchup, but Najee was trying to take on all comers and certainly trying to set the tone for the other running backs too. I give him credit for being willing to stick his nose in there as many times as he did today.
Well, Moon, after his first rep against Freiermuth beat him and then celebrated. I mean, it was Jeremiah Moon, TJ Watt here, but he was, and then he ran off to another position.
Yeah, all he wanted to do was go catch passes against the DBs. He was just like, let me get my 2 blocking reps in and get gone from here.
Well, he got one in and won it and took off after he celebrated, and they called him back.
Yeah.
And Tomlin said, let's get Moon and Pat back out there. And Moon whipped him. And then Moon looked at him like, you celebrating now? So, as much as we want Pat to improve his blocking, and he did at the end of last year, he wasn't Darnell Washington today. Let's say that. But Najee really celebrated. It was Payton Wilson got up against 33, Shampkin.
I didn't see that rep.
And Shampkin got underneath and grabbed him by the horse collar and slammed him to the ground. And it was either hold or horse collar, but Payton Wilson looked like he got manhandled, but you can't cheat. So
yeah, was it Tomlin? Was that the one where Tomlin jumped in and said, let's do that again without tackling him this time?
Yeah. And so Shampkin stepped up and drilled Payton pretty good. And Najee, he's celebrating. Najee was celebrating. He's high-fiving. He's a team guy. He loves his teammates. And so I saw him most active. I don't know that I gave him a win against Landon Roberts. And I thought it was pretty clear that Roberts sometimes would just bull rush him straight back.
I was going to say, I mean, after watching E-Rob in that drill for the first time last year in his first summer as a Steeler, if you don't end up at a nearby hospital or in a dark room or something after going up against him, I'll give you at least the half win, because he just sends people into the shadow realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember Lawrence Timmons, his rookie year, came blowing in and blew some kid up some nobody that never was and never will be.
He's watching this podcast right now, probably.
He showed up the next day in this neck halo thing, and Tomlin came over to our table and said, "Hey, don't be giving Timmons the golden D yet." So that was a quote that I'll never forget.
Brian,
Law dog.
you mentioned the shadow realm. Let's talk about dark horses. We hit on some of the more known areas of camp, known players. Anybody who is under the radar, who's standing out so far? This is for both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just a guy who made a couple plays early in practice today, I think with the second team defense, but I'll mention him because he wasn't really on my radar at all, is Grayland Arnold, who's undersized, undrafted guy a couple years ago out of Baylor. He's just been trying to scratch and claw to make a difference in the NFL at some city, at some position, whether it's slot corner or safety. It seems like the Steelers are giving him a look at slot corner here because he's got that kind of body type for their defense. And he picked off a pass. It was Kyle Allen trying to hit somebody, jump the route. And hey, I mean, I give a guy credit for finishing the catch and going down to the ground. So I don't think he's going to beat out, the aforementioned Beanie Bishop, but he's somebody who's going to try to make some plays as camp and certainly the preseason games progress.
He's definitely got what they call the dog in him. He's a dog. I was happy. I wrote him up today. He almost punched a ball out, but when he punched it, some of those times when they try to punch the ball, they actually punch the player with the ball, and it's
TJ Watt is a master of that. He's also a master of forced fumbles, but then there's also times where it's on national TV on ESPN or something, and he's just wailing on a guy.
Well, Arnold did one of those right in front of me, and you could feel and hear the thud into the body. So
it's always a good sign when I look at my roster and say, who's this number 35 that I keep noticing?
Yeah. Well, the problem with when Jeremy asks me, for my sleepers is the guy gets cut the next day. So I'm sorry that I'm going to have to go with Jeremiah Moon today because I really liked his athleticism in the backs on backers, and then his attitude toward the revered Freiermuth. It was I want to see more Jeremiah Moon. Grayland Arnold, I really liked. I can't. The running back looked really fast today. Jonathan Ward looked really fast running down the sideline today. Mm-hmm. Really quick.
Yeah, you can kind of see why he's got 5 or 6 years in the league or whatever it is, bouncing around from various teams.
Yeah, he definitely has speed, and it popped on me today. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have anybody else. I want to say Nate Meadors, and he was getting a lot of second team reps as a safety. But if Grayland Arnold's going to win that fifth safety job, I don't know. I like Meadors a lot in the spring. Haven't seen too much. It's hard to keep your eyes on all these guys, especially when you're down on the field. If you're up in the stands, you get a better look. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to beg off on that, Jeremy. I'm just going to stick with Jeremiah Moon. It's a guy I want to see more of. I'm going to watch him in scrimmage as opposed to backs on backers.
Yeah, I mean, he could get that fourth outside linebacker role that, as we know, can quickly become the third outside linebacker role when that rigorous position gets going in the regular season. It's kind of interesting that he and I think the other combatant, at least right now for that job, Kyron Johnson, very different players. Johnson's more of a short, quick, but stockier pass rusher, whereas Moon, like we said, he's got all the physical tools you could ever want, but is he going to be able to? I remember talking to Patrick Queen about him in the spring because they both were with the Ravens. Steelers actually used a waiver claim on Moon, so I don't think he's in danger of getting the Wexell curse cut tomorrow. But I remember Queen just saying, "Yeah, I didn't realize the Steelers picked him up in the offseason. I showed up. I was like, what are you doing here?" And he hopes he's somebody who, with that body and the athleticism can, figure it out and kind of put it all together at some point.
Well, you said Kyron Johnson, number 53. I just know his number, 53. He has the body type to make it as the fourth guy because that body type is better for special teams than Jeremiah
Right.
Moon. They've had a problem with their 3-4 outside linebackers playing special teams because of that length. You know, they're not great on special teams. So that could hurt Jeremiah. And the other guy I like, Jacoby Windman, as a long shot sleeper, can play inside and outside and gives them the versatility. And, you know, with his body type, he'll be able to play teams, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Johnson did play special teams for them. Pretty much like the whole month of the season last year. He was sort of quietly on the roster. Yeah.
It's his body type screams special teams. I mean, he looks like a 4-3 outside linebacker. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we covered quite a bit of ground here. From the traffic on the way home from camp to the injury to Roman Wilson to some of the underdogs that are shining a little bit here in camp. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we close out?
I don't think so. I'll just say I had one sort of starstruck moment today. Jason Kidd was at camp today. NBA, I'd call him a legend. I'd say he qualifies as an NBA legend, and now he's the Dallas Mavericks head coach. He was on kind of a 3-day trip to watch and observe Mike Tomlin up close as a coaching peer in the sports world.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. I like I said, I saw Troy and Ike. I was with Jeremy Scott from WESA. It was his first day at camp, so I told him to shadow me so he gets a feel for everything. And first people we run into are Troy and Ike. I says, "How's that for shadowing? You all right? You like meeting those guys?" So it was pretty cool. But I want to remind everybody to subscribe to our channel. We had Dick LeBeau on last week and only 7 extra subscribers. So that's why we had to call in Batko. I mean, we had to get our numbers up. So, Brian, you have a huge following. So I hope some of you Batko fans will subscribe to our channel. We're close to 1,000, right? Isn't that what
we're getting there?
We are
840, 841. We're inching along.
841, and then we had LeBeau, and I thought that was going to put us over the top. Now we're at 848. And then someone just quit us yesterday. So,
well, Wex, if you don't get Troy, Rashard Mendenhall was at practice today. So you can maybe hit him up, and then you might get down to 500 or 600 subscribers if you have him on, based on the vitriol for Rashard in my Twitter mentions when I posted a photo of him from the sideline.
Oh, you had vitriol.
Yes. A lot of my followers are not fans of his, to put it lightly.
Didn't he claim that bin Laden was misunderstood or something?
Rashard Mendenhall has had a lot of questionable claims, football related and otherwise. I'll leave it at that.
Interesting. Well, we had to throw out the bat signal for today to get us moving there north in the subscribers. So we appreciate you coming on, Brian. And we will be back next week for episode number 118, maybe even by the end of the week with a special guest. Like you heard Jim say, who we're working on getting on the show. In the meantime, make sure you hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and we will see you back here next week for episode number 118 of the Still City Insider podcast. Gentlemen, have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right, take care,
no
guys.
Problem.